Welcome back to another one of my videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Lotta, and today I'm going to show you how to make these chocolate cookie streusel slices. So these cookie slices are made out of a chocolate shortcrust cookie that is topped with streusel, and it's then layered with a red currant jam and whipped cream. If you want to see how to make these, keep watching the video. Now the first thing we need to make is our chocolate shortcrust. So for that you're going to need 100 grams of sugar with a pinch of salt, 200 grams of softened butter, 300 grams of all-purpose flour, 25 grams of cocoa powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Now just like all of our shortcrust or 1, 2, 3 cookie doughs, we're going to start by creaming together our butter, sugar, and salt until super creamy. And then we're basically just going to quickly blend in our 3 dry ingredients until we get a crumbly consistency. Now, depending on how soft your butter was when you started, your dough might not be quite as smooth as this. If it's a little bit more chunky and resembles more like the streusel consistency, I would recommend just quickly kneading it once with your hands until you get a nice smooth ball of dough. Now at this point, our dough can wander into the fridge for about 30 to 40 minutes, and that's just going to help get our dough nice and cold again, and it's going to make it a lot easier to roll out without it sticking onto our rolling pin and onto our surface. While our dough is chilling, we can get to making our chocolate streusel. So for that, you're going to need 75 grams each of sugar and softened butter, 100 grams of flour, 1 splash of vanilla extract, 10 grams of cocoa powder, and 30 grams of chocolate shavings or chocolate sprinkles or anything along those lines. Now making streusel is super easy. We're basically going to add all of our ingredients into our mixing bowl and just quickly mix that together until we have a nice crumbly consistency. Our streusel can also wander into the fridge for now. At this point, we can get to rolling and cutting out our shortcrust. Now I'm just going to start by kneading it together once with my hands to make sure that I have a nice smooth dough. Whew. Now I have this square disc from one of my cake tins, and I know that I can get out 8 even slices. So I'm going to use this as an outline to make sure that they're getting semi-even. Now to make sure that these don't puff up when we bake them, we're going to perforate them with a fork. At this point, we can generously sprinkle on our chocolate streusel onto each of our cookies. And if you can, try to make sure that you keep most of the streusel on top of the cookie and not all around it. I'm going to put these back into the fridge for about 30 to 60 minutes to cool, and that's also going to help make sure that they don't spread out when we bake them. Now while the cookies are getting to the end of their chilling time, we can already go ahead and preheat the oven to 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to bake them for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they're nice and golden brown. Now while the cookies are cooling off, we can move on to the next step. So for the next step, you're going to need 150 grams of red currant jam, but you can basically use any jam that you want. I just found this jam and I like red currant, so I'm going to use it. Now as you can tell, the jam itself is pretty thick. So what I'm going to do is heat this up either in the microwave or on the stove just until it becomes a little bit more liquid. And that's just going to make it a lot easier to spread onto our cookie layers. Now at this point you want to decide which of your cookies you want to be on the top of your slice and which ones you want to be in the middle and at the bottom. Now personally I prefer having the nicest looking one on top just to make everything look a little bit more presentable. So I already went ahead and kind of laid them out how I want them to be stacked. These ones are going at the bottom, these are going to be in the middle, these are going to be on top. So we're going to be adding our jam layer just to the bottom and the middle layers. You do not want to add them to the top layer because you want the streusel to be showing. Now I did heat up an additional 50 grams of my jam to make sure that I'm getting enough onto each of my cookies. But again, that can vary depending on how thick your jam is or how thin your jam is. We're going to set these aside to completely cool off, and in the meantime we can get our whipped cream ready. Now to fill and layer our cookie slices, we're going to be using 300 milliliters of heavy whipping cream, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and a good splash of vanilla extract. Now if you so choose, you can always add more flavor to your whipped cream by adding some of your leftover jam or adding some cocoa powder or basically anything else to give it a little bit more flavor. Personally, I like the idea of just having plain whipped cream with the red currant jam and the chocolate cookie, so I'm gonna leave it just like this. That being said, we're just going to whisk this up until we have some nice stiff peaks and then add it to our piping bag. I ended up choosing a simple round piping tip just like we used for our heart-shaped cookie cake, but once again you can use any piping tip that you want to get the design that you're going for. Now at this point we can get to layering our streusel cookie cakes. So basically we're just adding a layer of whipped cream to our cookies that have the jam on it. We're going to put those on top of each other and then finish it off with the last cookie that has no jam on it. Now this is what it should look like at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish adding my whipped cream layer to the rest of my cookies. Now for the final touches, I'm going to be adding a healthy sprinkling of powdered sugar, but once again you can decorate these however you want. You can add another layer of whipped cream on top, or jam, or drizzle with melted chocolate, or really anything else. And there you go, our chocolate cookie streusel slices. Now I recommend letting these sit for a couple hours to let the cookies soften up from the whipped cream. That way it's not going to be a hot crumbly mess when you try to eat them. So that's going to be everything for today's video. If you enjoyed it, you can give me a thumbs up or write me a comment down below. And as always, the whole recipe is going to be in the description box as well.